Okay, so all right, so not to get political at all, because look what we have behind Mike. That's awesome, Mike. There and then there was one. Actually, this appropriate to your T-shirt, and then there were three. Right now we have behind you. We have three teams left. No, so not to get political, okay, but my family is Democratic, and my in-laws are Republicans, right? And love them dearly. They're the greatest people in the world, and we both share a place down by the beach in Margate, and it's like a little an old hotel that was turned into apartments, and it's a really small place, but it's perfect. It's just big enough to hide in. It's just a great place to go down to. And it's a condo association, right? So they have condo association meetings. And if you've ever been part of a condo association, you know the wonders of this. It's awesome. Well, it's even worse when you're talking about vacation home condo associations where people are only there for a couple months a year, right? So they have a pool there at this place, and it's mostly elderly people. And there's a lot of families that come through to visit their grandparents and stuff like that. So the pool is freezing. The pool is so cold that it's heated, quote unquote, right? It's heated, so it's so cold, and everybody's we always say, can we just get a couple degrees warmer? Just a couple degrees warmer would be so much nicer for everybody involved. And the people down there, because a lot of them don't use it, are like, oh no, it would be like $5 more a month on our condo fees. No, we're not going to do that. It's crazy. So my wife, who's the engineer, came up with this really cool idea. She's like, what if we buy a pool cover, like one of those solar pool covers that will help save money and make the pool warmer at the same time?
Smart.
So, which is a fantastic idea. She priced it out on Amazon. She had to put this whole proposal together. She's like, she does $1 million things with her company sometimes. This $250 took her longer than anything she would imagine, right? So she's doing this thing, and it would cost everybody about $6 a piece, for a one-time fee of $6 a piece to do this. In the thing, so and they're throwing a fit about it. They're like, no, we're not going to pay $6, whatever. So we came up with the idea, and we texted just as a lark to my in-laws. I photoshopped a pool cover with "Vote Hillary" on it.
Oh,
and
no.
I said to them, my wife and I will gladly pay for this whole pool cover, but it just has to say "Vote Hillary" on it. Is that okay? We'll pay for the whole thing for free. I'll save everybody money, but it's just going to say "Vote Hillary" on it. And this has really turned into quite a fun thing. But anyway, I thought that was
real quick. People freaking out about $6 in Nassau County. Remember, when it went to a public vote, the taxes in Nassau County were going to go up $32 in each house, and the Islanders would be playing in Nassau County right now. But obviously, people freaked out about paying $32 a month. The teams in Brooklyn, and taxes went up over $100.
But it's funny. But they are the second highest tax county in the United States.
Of course they are. But you know what was going to happen. $32, and then they turned that into they're raising seniors' tax money and all that. And the team left. Now the economy is taking a bit of a hit there, and the taxes have gone up over $100.
Well,
and it's funny. It's like it's less than we pay for Spotify a month. It's crazy.
Just to forewarn everybody on the beach, that thing floating is not a beach whale. It is Chris Christie.
Oh, all right, let's start the show.
Let's start the show. Hello, Hockey World. Here we go.
26th.
Buy my book.
Oh, then yeah, Russ's book, numbers 2.
Wear my Joe Pavelski T-shirt.
Excellent. Boy. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, May 26th, 2016.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Daniel Petru.
I'm Russ Cohen with the only working lower third.
Oh, man. And I'm Eklund. You're watching the HockeyBuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday. Be nice. And we bring you the news so you don't have to pay attention. And today we have a couple things to talk about. First of all, we should let us start before we get into Dan's hatred of Eric Gudbranson.
I don't hate Eric Gudbranson.
Before we start about though, and you do hate Eric Gudbranson, just admit it. But before we start into that, the first step is always admitting you hate Eric Gudbranson. That's
Russ
the first
starting this crap.
Okay, before we get into that, I think we have to talk about the Sharks. I mean, come on, this was the Sharks are in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, no, I think before we even start, I think we all have to say one thing. We all have to say one thing. Eck, you were right.
Thank you.
He was.
I'm not saying that. Screw that.
And I also, wait, one more thing. I also want Mike to officially apologize to the San Jose Sharks.
Well, for what?
For trashing them for the past 7 weeks.
They finally showed up.
They finally showed up.
That team has arguably had some of the best talent in the NHL for over a decade, and they have never come through until last night.
Because it's hard to.
Well, and you know what, Dan? The thing is, every potential thing that could happen that fell into place this year fell into place. Chicago lost in the first round. Anaheim lost to Nashville.
Matchups, man.
They finally got over the hump and beat LA. Dallas, the Western Conference leader, loses their best or second best player in Tyler Seguin. The St. Louis Blues, who have had a reputation of gagging just as bad as the San Jose Sharks, were the team that they faced in the conference final. So everything fell into place. Now let's see if they actually follow through, because I think they have a lot of talent, and depending on who they face in the Stanley Cup final, I think they have a chance to win. But it's not.
Wait, are you still going to call them choke artists if they lose in the finals?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
We need to crowdsource something. We've been talking about crowdsourcing. We need to crowdsource. Someone needs to buy Mike a copy of Chicken Soup for the Soul, because
Chicken Soup for the Western Conference.
it's not, life's not this bad, Mike. Life's not this bad. It's like this is. I mean, at the end of the day,
Live in my shoes for a couple days and tell me.
I do want to send a message though. I want to send a message to a good friend, Bruce Bennett, and tell him, was 1 and 2 the best you could come up with for the '97 draft picture of Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau? Come on, Bruce, you could do better than that.
That's right. I mean, so 1 and 2. I know this is. I will admit that I was right about the Sharks this year, but I will also admit that I actually thought this Sharks team would do this last year. I did in the beginning of the year last year. I did predict them to win the Stanley Cup as well, and because like you're talking, because these pieces were in place, and I believed in Niemi enough to think that it could work. Right. So to me, what is working for the Sharks is the classic combination. They have the old veterans who have been there long enough and still have something left in the tank, but aren't great anymore maybe, but they still have enough left in the tank to be very, very good, and their experience is something that everybody looks up to. They have the players in their prime that are just killing it, and then they have the guys on entry-level contracts that are contributing. That is, like, if you have that combination and a great goalie, and a great power play, and that's what you have, right?
Although Thornton said something pretty telling post-game. He said that this year we have a lot of camaraderie in the locker room again.
Yeah.
But we knew the locker room was a disaster towards the end of last year. Remember when we walked in there, how bad it was?
Oh yeah, well that locker room has been, and there has been a lot of divisiveness in there, and a lot of stuff of that came from some of the elder people in that room, not named Joe Thornton, but
yeah, but it also came from the fact that you had a management in place in Doug Wilson for a long time. You had Todd McClellan there ever since they fired Ron Wilson. It was in need of a change, and I think we can say everything about guys like Couture and Pavelski coming through, but you can't underestimate the effect that Peter DeBoer and his assistants had on that team. Peter DeBoer appears to be a very player-friendly coach, went in there with a much looser attitude, and maybe that was what was needed with the dynamic of that team. Now,
DeBoer credit. I mean, you're right,
yeah,
Mike. He's taken 2 teams that weren't supposed to get to the Stanley Cup Finals to the Stanley Cup Finals now. No one. I mean, the Sharks are better. The Sharks are a better team than the Devils were that he took to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they still weren't expected.
He doesn't get credit because he's very understated. He's very by the book. He's very dull, but he knows his hockey, and he doesn't get credit. But I don't want to say this is his best work this year, because that Devils team did do it with smoke and mirrors. But this is a pretty great job by him. It really is.
He nailed it. He nailed it last night when he said, and I thought this was incredibly humble as well, but just a really great quote from him. And he is very quotable. And for him being dull, he is real. He's very incredibly real. And he also gets the bigger picture. Like, I remember covering that Devils run, and him talking about what's Marty Brodeur into this team, because that was like Marty Bordeur's last hurrah. And he's like, yeah, it's just so great. I've seen Marty before, and he said you can tell he's just looking around the room and he's getting it, that this is maybe his last time, and he's loving it. He's seeing it from a different way. And Peter DeBoer seeing this is a really perceptive thing, for a coach to say and just to understand. And last night he said, I appreciate everybody saying all the things they're saying about me and the nice things they're saying about me. He said, but in a way, he says, I kind of got lucky because in both situations, he said, because I came into 2 situations that were players that just had enough and were ready to win. that like they had gone through, and that's not blaming the coaches before me. He said McClellan did a great job for a decade before me. He said, but the players who they just had a change was all they needed. They just needed a change, a fresh start, which is what a coach is. There's all this baggage that builds up, and it's nothing against a coach, but over a period of time, and this is why Hitchcock, and this is why Barry Trotz, this is why Boudreau, these great coaches get let go. Because baggage just builds up, and you can't. It's nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. Like when you spend enough time, like for example, you spend enough time with Mike.
Yeah. Look what's done to the chemistry of this show.
Over time, No, but I'm just saying, like when you're enough time with anybody, no matter how nice they are, no matter how much you like them,
it's hard. It
gets harder, right, to maintain that, and it's one of these situations.
Don't leave Mike.
Yeah, I know. I'm just busting on Mike.
We are the true professionals, though.
Yeah. So no, to me, that's what I like about DeBoer. I mean, he says this, and it's real. Like I said, it's very real. He's kind of right, and it's not like he's being humble, but he's also being real about the whole thing. And yeah, I just love it. I mean, this team. Last year when I looked at it, I'm like, they had the perfect combination of things, and they were coming off of getting knocked out in 7 games, in that where they blew a 3-0 lead.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, look at what that does to a team. Look what that Boston came back the next year, won the Stanley Cup. It does give you some extra oomph,
Doug Wilson does deserve a bit of credit because the moves that he made were not like awe-inspiring and big.
Yeah, actually, we're going to play revisionist history. I'm the one who said Wilson was going to keep his job, and X said he didn't think he was going to keep.
I didn't think he was going to keep his job at all because 2 years ago, after losing that 3-0 lead and blowing it, he had a really bad offseason. He really did. He did nothing.
And let's just look at the big moves. They bring in free agency. They bring in Joel Ward.
Yep.
And they bring in Paul Martin.
Right.
They trade their own first-round pick to Boston to get Martin Jones.
Yep.
They signed Donskoy as a free agent out of the Finnish league after he had been drafted by, I think it was Florida. You said
Florida.
So and he has been invaluable in this playoffs. And then at the deadline, a lot of people, and I still think that down the road this is a fantastic deal for Toronto, but they trade 2 second-round picks to get a fourth-line guy in Nick Spaulding, who's a good special teams penalty-killing guy, and Roman Polak, who solidifies their defense. And, just in case Martin Jones wasn't there, completely, they back up that with the acquisition of Reimer as the backup goaltender. Yeah. And, Toronto has 3 picks in the next 3 years from San Jose, but in the short term, look what the Sharks have and look what they've done.
Agreed. Yeah. Perfect. It was perfect moves. They really filled all the spots that they needed to fill. Ward made them tougher.
Point out a big coaching flaw. So going into the third period, down 2-0, St. Louis was in a defensive shell. It made no sense. They were more interested in making the safe pass to get the puck out of their zone than actually trying to create offense. And I knew the minute that was happening that San Jose was just going to keep pressing because they knew that they were never going to have to worry about St. Louis trying to rush the puck or even try and make an offensive play. They knew that St. Louis was literally looking for them to make a mistake. That's what they were looking for. It was bad coaching.
For all those old Stratomatic hockey players out there, it's like in the third period, Ken Hitchcock was playing sort of a 2-1 offense instead of playing a 3-3. 3-3 was the wide open offense that you had to get back into the game. And maybe for the first 4 or 5 minutes, it's okay to do that. But you're down 2-0 on foreign ice. You have to open it up, and you have to try to get back in the game. And maybe it's just a statement in the fact that Hitchcock didn't have the confidence in his team's offense to be able to do that.
Yeah, no. This is what I think happened, and I know Hitchcock pretty well, and I've learned his expressions pretty well. When you saw him on the bench in the second period, late in the second period, early third period, he had a very odd expression for Hitchcock on his face. I don't know if whenever they went to him, he was looking almost like despondent in a very strange way. For him, I mean, he usually is a little bit more. And what I think got to him was the fact that the Sharks were beating the Blues by playing the way Hitchcock likes to play. And I think that was making him insane. Like, it was the kind of thing Hitchcock loves to just forecheck. He loves to
counter it. That's the problem.
He didn't counter it, I know.
Coach, but you got to counter that.
But because when two teams play that way, the better team is going to win it, right? So what's happening here is but that's how the Blues got to where they got to, by playing that way. Now they're playing against another team that plays that way, and it wasn't a good matchup for the Blues. So the Blues had to unleash. They had to give Tarasenko more space. They had to create more things. They had to use more speed. And it was fascinating in a way that Tarasenko scores these 2 goals at the end of the game, and when the Blues just let it loose, Now,
yeah. Everybody's killing this guy, and he might be hurt. I'm not ready to kill him yet.
Yeah.
I want to find out what his medicals are. Same with Giroux. While everybody was out there killing Giroux, like everybody's just so quick to jump.
It turns out Giroux has having 2 surgeries in the offseason.
I know,
he
but
still was saying I was perfectly healthy. That's the great. Giroux was saying he was perfectly healthy at the end after the season, and then 2 days later he's getting 2 surgeries. You don't get 2 surgeries when you're perfectly healthy. I don't, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I can't criticize. I won't be able to criticize Tarasenko if it comes out in a week that he's having a wrist surgery or knee surgery. But honestly, and I know he scored a goal late in the game yesterday, but you know what? He disappeared in the second half of the Dallas series. And
that's fine. I mean, that's fair criticism.
You could also say he disappeared. You can also say that St. Louis is a little limited when it comes offensively. So if the team just tries to suffocate him, you need other guys to step up and score goals so you can create some space for him.
I agree. I brought in, but he's got that narrow circle and that narrow focus, and so he really didn't change his lineup that much. And when he brought in the new guys, then he left those guys. There wasn't that much to work with, and that was the thing. He needed a spark. That team needed a spark. The other weird thing is at the end of the game, when he's at the podium and he says, "I'm not going to talk to my team. I'll talk to them in like a day or 2." That's bizarre. I couldn't believe he wasn't going to go into the locker room. I don't know. I found that weird.
Well, and you can overanalyze, the emotions of players after a Game 7, but if you looked at the emotion of David Backes in the post-game press scrum, it's hard to believe that he isn't thinking that this is his time in St. Louis is over with, because it looked like a sort of like a good a goodbye type of situation.
I think one or the other.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how dramatic the roster changes for the Blues is going to be this summer.
It can't be that dramatic. They're locked into a lot. I mean, Shattenkirk's their one chip. That's really it.
They were a top 4 team. I mean, they were one of the Final 4 teams. I mean, you have to give them credit. I do think that Hitchcock and Backes are tied at the hip, and I think if one goes, both goes, and if one stays, both stays. That's how I think it'll be. I think Backes is definitely concerned about this. There is something that's a common thread. I heard the general manager McClellan is right for Washington on the radio the other day, and talking about the Capitals. And there's a team that just dominated the regular season. I mean, they had one of the best regular seasons in years, and they were very good in the playoffs. They ran up against a very good Penguins team, and and some of their players didn't come through, which is like Tarasenko, because Kuznetsov didn't come through. But the one thing he said is, he's like, I love my top 6. He said, but I realized playing Pittsburgh that my bottom 6 have to be faster. And I think that same thing. I mean, you're talking about a team that ran away with the President's Trophy. A GM saying that his bottom 6 has to be faster.
Right.
That's telling. And I think St. Louis is going to look at it the same way.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to be the reality in the entire NHL.
Yeah.
Is your fourth line is? I mean, we've been starting to get away from it the last few years, but you just can't have your fourth line be crash and bang guys. You can't have your third and fourth lines being just special teams guys. It's got to. I mean, in looking at the Maple Leafs, per se, there's a lot of talk about, okay, third and fourth liners next year, some of the guys who are playing on the Toronto Marlies right now, and there's not a lot of size, but there is a lot of speed and skill. And maybe those guys in this newer NHL, they can fit into third and fourth line roles because they do have, they do pose matchup problems to other teams. So maybe that Washington and St. Louis will have to go in that direction as well.
I mean, the Islanders' fourth line scored 32 goals this year.
Yeah, that's something.
But unusually, Dan, I mean, that line, I mean, they're sort of, I mean, that Boston fourth line, they were a crash and bang line, the Merlot line, and they scored some goals. But, the line in New York, or in Brooklyn, I mean, Martin and Clutterbuck and Cizikas, they're physical. They're very physical.
But they're not big. I mean, Cizikas and Clutterbuck are not big. They're barely 6 feet. But they can skate they can really skate.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And I don't know. I think that what we're seeing is that there's going to be just a big push. I mean, everyone's saying it. Everyone's talking about how they're going to need more offense. And what happens, of course, is there's always the backlash of this, right? So the NHL is just such a pendulum that it'll get faster and faster and faster until somebody gets bigger and beats up the faster kids, and then then people get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, because there's always an evolution. You're right.
I think you just need your bottom 6 forwards to create chances. They don't have to score all the time. You need them to be able to possess the puck and create chances.
I will tell you this. I saw something on the NHL Network that made me laugh. Pre-game, Kevin Weeks was showing a chart for all the teams in it and all the draft picks that are playing, and they were acting like on the broadcast like this is now extremely important, and now scouts are extremely important. And I'm thinking, like 5 years ago, I was writing about how you had to build your roster, otherwise you're not going to survive with this, the salary cap and everything else. And now all of a sudden they've clued into it. It was funny. I laughed. I'm sorry.
No, they clue into it when they have to, right? That's the bottom line. When it comes down to it, they have to clue into it. Which brings us to our topic of the day, which is, before we get into Game 7, which we'll definitely get into, is Dan's hatred of Erik Gudbranson. So Dan, explain to us why Erik Gudbranson.
I don't hate Erik Gudbranson. I don't. I actually think he's a very good hockey player. He's kind of a rare breed. There aren't many players like him anymore, the quote-unquote stay-at-home defenseman. I think he's a nice player. He's very good in his own end. He eats a ton of minutes. He's not slow, but he's not a gazelle. He can move a little bit. With that being said, he's never had more than 13 points in the season. And if I'm going to trade, if I'm a rebuilding team, I think we need to. Maybe the Canucks haven't admitted this yet, but they are a rebuilding team. I'm not trading 3 draft picks, one of my number 1 prospects, for a guy who's in his walk year.
Well, here's the thing. I'll look at it from the other angle. I spoke to a few people, too. First thing is, him getting signed, Gudbranson, to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal makes it very palatable, and then they know if he has a good year, he's not going to break the bank. So they could extend him, and this gives him a look-see. So that's
if he has a decent year, he's going to want $5 million.
Well, that's 5 is okay. I'm sure they'll pay 5. They're paying 5 to Hamwies who can't even play anymore, right? So
why would he want to stay if they're going to be a bottom 10 team for the next couple of years?
So I think they're not going to do that. But he's going to be a number 4 for them. It's funny. People online, when you say mobile defenseman, they misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's an offensive defenseman, but by mobile, I'm saying he can move for his size and he can get the puck out of the zone. And it's funny because I had to show a quote from Gerard Gallant this year that said he moves the puck really well for people to shut up, because it was like, wait a minute, this isn't even just me saying this. This is Dale Talon and Gallant before they gave him the extension. Now, he is a good penalty killer. He isn't going to score money points. And I don't understand this analytics argument that says, why put out a player who's not going to score a point that's going to hurt you? It's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's a momentum changer, which isn't going to show up in analytics. There's a lot of things that aren't going to show up in analytics. Go ahead.
Now, my biggest point is this. And I forgot. No, if you look at the market, Johnny Boychuk was acquired for 2 second-round picks. Right. Okay. Nick Leddy for a bunch. I mean, look. Granted, they had cap situations, and so maybe the price was down. But if we look at the market of defensemen that have been traded in the past 2 years, this seems like a really high price. And
it's a high price, but he's 24, and Boychuk had a lot of mileage on him.
But it's the picks. It's the picks. It's like what are the Canucks? That's the question.
Well, I think it's also the fact that he signed for another year. They had already signed him at $3.5 million. He's an RFA, so he's on arbitration eligible after that. Yeah. So he's controllable for at least 2 years. And Vancouver is, even if they won't admit it, they're going through a transition right now. I don't know. Maybe the inner workings of the Canucks were not sold on McCann. I heard some analysis that he had 3 really good years in the OHL. He only scored 9 goals last year. Maybe he's only 19, turning 20, so he's a young guy. Maybe he needs some time down in the American Hockey League to acclimate himself to the pro game. So he's a decent prospect. What I'm curious about here with the new management system in Florida is, Willie Mitchell's probably going to retire. He's gone. Campbell is a UFA. I'm assuming they're going to try to re-sign Campbell because their defense, even if Mike Matheson makes the team next year, Kulikov, Kindle, Ekblad, Alex Petrovic, they're a little thin on the blue line. So I think either they're going to go out in free agency and sign somebody or re-sign Campbell. But they've created themselves a gap.
We're going to see if Ian McCoshen's ready. He's a stud in the making. And so he might be ready. And Matheson's going to take a bigger role. Right. So That may help him. You know, the McCann thing's interesting because I liked him more than most in the draft, and I actually had him ranked exactly where Vancouver did on the board, which was higher than 24. And Tim Benning basically agreed with me when I told him when he was on our show. The thing about it is, I don't think he's more than a 40 or 50-point guy, and people are treating this like he is a 75 or 80-point guy. Right. And that's the difference. Now, he is going to take Brandon Peary's spot, Mike, and so they're not going to give him they're not going to afford him the luxury of an AHL, year. They're going to put him right into the NHL, and I think this is where their analytics GM is just looking at it like, well, we lost Peary. Well, I guess I'm going to get McCann because I like the intangibles of him. There's things he does. He does possess the puck very well. And so we're going to plug him in for Peary. We're not going to miss a beat. But
they might move him to the wing, Russ. But I mean, right now up the middle, you got Barkov.
So I don't think they would.
Well, I mean, you got Barkov, you got Trocheck, and you got Bukestad. I mean, I don't think any of those make sense to move to the wing.
Yeah,
so unless you're talking about him playing a fourth-line center role, which for a 19, maybe in this new NHL, you want somebody who has his particular skill set to play on a lower line like that. But if you move him to the wing, then you're sort of playing him out of position.
Does this feel like something else?
I think he'll be the fourth-line center. I think that's what they're going to do.
I feel like something else was at work here. Like, does it feel like something else like Gudbranson? It's a strange time to make a trade like this. And I wrote about it today. Like, we are seeing more and more early trades because, there definitely is the case.
I know where you're getting at. So you're talking about the ridiculous, we're moving cap space out because Stamkos is going to stay in Florida and go to Florida? Because that's not
something with Eric. Something with Eric Gudbranson. Like something along the lines of like that they had to move Eric Gudbranson. And I don't mean to like spread rumors or gossip or whatever, but it just because I've heard nothing about it. He's a great guy, but it feels like that. There's a feeling like, we never know the whole story, right?
And I think it's the same as the Rangers and Hagelin. I think they had an RFA situation where they had a contract, he had a price, and somebody else liked that price, and they didn't love that price. And the
analytics thing is fascinating because analytics for a guy like Eric Gudbranson. I missed a second. My computer just went nuts when Dan was talking there, so I apologize. But I think the analytics thing here for a player like this is the kind of player that analytics matters the least on in my mind. This is the kind of player.
But everything was accelerated with Gudbranson. He re-signed a one-year contract right after Florida got eliminated. It was like, what's the rush? I mean, everybody, nobody is really signing their big restricted free agents until they extend the qualifying offers after the season. And okay, it's business. You get it out of the way. That's all fine and good.
Re-sign him. Talon probably re-signed him, and now Rowe is in the GM spot, and that's
fair.
That's
exactly what I was
saying. The right hand doesn't talk to the left.
That's exactly what I was
too. Because they definitely are selling this like this is Dale Talon's team, and yet when I heard the new Rowe talking on the air today about this on XM, he said, Dale Talon's put a really good team together to this point, and we have to continue that process. And that the way he said it like that was okay. Wait a second, isn't Dale Talon still putting a really good team together?
Right, that's exactly what I was driving at. Is the fact here, you have an analytics-based new management team with Talon at the head, but this deal is okay. Let's get rid of that dinosaur stay-at-home defenseman. Get ourselves a young guy, 2 draft picks, and you know how the analytics guys love to hoard the draft picks. So there you go.
Well, the draft picks are important, but my point is this: I just think Vancouver paid too much. I don't dislike Eric Gudbranson. I think he can help them. I just don't like the cost.
Is he a better?
They could afford. Sorry,
no, you go.
I think they could afford the cost because here's the thing: drafting 5th, they weren't going to be able to get a defenseman drafting 5th that they could insert into their lineup right away. They know it, and we pretty much know it. So they needed that. So they know though that there's a chance that they could get an offensive player that might be able to be inserted into their lineup the same way Virtanen and McCann were, and that's the risk they're going to take.
This frees them up to take a Tkachuk or Dubois at 5 instead of taking Ulevy or Chychrun and waiting 2 years.
And that's fair, I guess, if you look at it that way. Like if you compare it, okay, we have said player Tkachuk and Gudbranson as opposed to what we sent away. I see that.
That's what they're looking at. I'm telling you.
I just think they set a high market. That's all.
Well, there's not many guys out there, and I think by them striking...
Well, that's not true, because we didn't know Gudbranson was available, so how many guys like this are being mulled around in different teams?
But you saw the price. That's the problem. Guys are available, but at what price?
Let's extrapolate from this the situation with Shattenkirk.
1 second though, before we go further. Let me one second. When I have one thought I wanted to finish on this one. Sorry. Is that okay?
Yeah, go.
Sure, you're the boss.
No, I'm not. Anyway, Scott Luce's departure right before this trade feels odd to me, Russ. It feels like
Scott Luce guy. So yeah.
Yeah, it feels like okay, that they've been working on this deal for a while, and there was some kind of a disagreement here, and Luce is like, no, don't make this trade.
I'm sure that was the conversation.
And so the departure, because this trade probably could have been made, and they didn't make it really right next to Scott Luce's departure, but they probably could have. You know what I mean? Because there's no reason not to right now. So I wonder about that. I don't have any inside sources on that, but
me neither, but it does feel like that.
If this is the market for Gudbranson, Shattenkirk's going to get McDavid and 2 first-round picks.
Well, yeah, I mean that was the point. I mean,
but Eric Gudbranson. The other thing I want to bring up is I talked to somebody today about it, and they said Eric Gudbranson is more valuable in that conference and that division than he is in Florida, which is probably true.
I could see that, yeah.
That they bring him. That Vancouver knows that they need that kind of defenseman. Everybody who wins out there has that kind of defenseman, right?
Yeah, he plays a boatload of minutes too. He did against the Islanders too, and in the last 2 years I've seen really good growth out of him. More growth that I saw than in his first couple. So I agree.
I like him a lot. I know there were rumors of Flyers trying to get him for a while, and I was pretty excited about it. But yeah. But the fact he's also been on the market, I mean, the fact that there were rumors about him for a while is also kind of odd.
Yes.
So with a player like that, so there's some weird things that we don't know the whole picture. We never will know the whole picture, but there are some.
They're going to move a couple of other guys, Zach. That's what it feels like here.
Yeah.
They're going to look at. Unfortunately, this is going to be my take. They're going to look at the roster. They're going to look at the analytics, and they're going to say, like, I don't know, Jonathan Huberdeau is not living up to his thing, and so we're going to trade him because we could get somebody else that'll do a better job, have better puck possession. So
Josh Bailey. Josh Bailey has good analytics.
I'll give you one, Russ, who I think could be vulnerable in Florida because he is a loose draft pick and he had a bad year this year, but it was because of injury, which is Bukestad. And
you're dead on, Mike. You're right.
I'd take him in a heartbeat.
There are teams that will line up for that big. Yeah.
Last year I talked to somebody about Bukestad during the year, and they were definitely trying to trade him. So last year, not this season, but last season, you're right. And even though this is even before he had an off season this year, they were already trying to move him out last year. So there's a definite discord there with him and somebody.
With these way the Coyotes general manager and now the Panthers general manager, I can only expect you're going to see the other 28 GMs just start calling them left and right, like, hey, you want to make some moves here? We got some good analytic guys.
Well, I mean, there is going to be some influence from Dave Tippett in Arizona. So, I mean, maybe there will be no fire sale there, or at least some check on the new GM. But there has been.
Enough, I think Tippett's got more power than 70% of the coaches in the league now.
Yeah.
But there has been some talk about Martin Hansel. I believe has 1 year left in his contract. I think he's making a little over $3 million. About him being on the market and about them.
Well, he's a good player. He's a really very good player.
Very good player, and that's why I don't think it would be a good thing for Arizona to move him. But if they don't think that they're going to sign him after next year, I don't know if he's an RFA or a UFA, but I think he might be a UFA.
UFA, I think, right?
Yeah. So I mean, if that's the case, then that might be a guy who gets.
I can look.
But they're pushing youth. I don't know if you guys saw it, and I didn't watch the video, but apparently they have some funny video now that they did a segment with Max Domi and Anthony Duclair, and like how they're best buddies and they're bros, and this just smells like a marketing campaign where now we're going to start pushing youth, and that means they'll probably start pushing out some of the guys that have been there for a few years.
Hansel's a UFA.
They're going after, and they might bring back Bodker, but I think that I keep hearing him to Calgary. There's a really good stat before we get into Game 7, and I wanted to talk about Shattenkirk too, but I want to throw this out before I forgot. Pavelski set a record. They're tied a record. Did you hear this? Did you hear about this?
No.
This is a really cool record.
Most cat references?
No, this is impressive. Joe Pavelski's 13 goals through 3 rounds, are tied for the most goals in NHL history through 3 rounds with Wayne Gretzky.
Wow.
That's awesome.
How about that? Can you say Conn Smythe?
My answer and everybody's answer is he should have the record through 4 rounds, and then he'll have something.
I know, but that is he's on Gretzky's pace. Never you tire Gretzky for a record. I'm sorry, it deserves to be mentioned.
The funny thing is that we can use this as a bridge to the Game 7, is that the talk has been regarding Pittsburgh. If they win Game 7, and if they go on to win the Stanley Cup, that right now the two leading candidates for the Conn Smythe are Matt Murray and Phil Kessel. Because Phil Kessel was leading the team. Now all of a sudden they're pulling out. Well, Sidney Crosby has scored 3 game-winning goals in the conference final.
We can't give it to Phil Kessel.
You can't give it to Phil Kessel because he'll be using the Conn Smythe trophy to distribute his ketchup and mustard on the hot dogs. But I mean, come on.
I noticed
Kessel is definitely the Conn Smythe from Pittsburgh.
The two big Americans are they're 1 and 2 in my mind right now. So we'd all agree the price for Shattenkirk goes up with this deal.
Right.
And we'll talk more about that in time, but I don't want to spend too much time on that today. That is a great topic for another time. And Shattenkirk's not going to be traded before the draft, but he could be traded around the draft or somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I would just say that, in spite of the fact that Shattenkirk's only under control for another year, it's a little over $4 million, and then he's a UFA. Based on this deal, even though Gudbranson's an RFA and he's controllable for at least 2 years, Shattenkirk will draw at least a first-round pick. At least.
Oh, and I should mention this because it'll be like the last rumory thing, but I saw in the Larry Brooks column, and I thought this is the only thing I could take out of the Larry Brooks column that was worth it. Unfortunately, it was a lot of information that we knew, and of course they're going to be in on VC, which, again, we all could laugh at that one.
God.
You mean Toronto Maple Leaf, Jimmy VC?
Yeah, Keith Yandel, the minimum he'll take, he said, is 5 years, $35 million. So a 7-year deal for $5 million. That's the minimum.
Oh, no, thank you.
He's the best defenseman on the market.
No, thank
nice to start there, but that's not.
Yeah, it's nice not needing a defenseman.
It's not going to happen. Okay, there is a big atrocity going on, and this happened before, and we did something about it before, and it helped. We're going to try to do something about it now too. This is history repeating itself. The Lightning tonight have canceled their party outside the arena, the Emily Arena, the viewing party. They have the viewing party out there with the big screens because NBC says that ratings are down in Tampa, and they think it's a good idea for people to watch this in their homes instead.
But they're going to watch it in a bar.
Does that count as one view? Because
if they go watch it in the bar, those ratings don't count either.
And how many of these people are actually hooked up to the ratings? I mean, what really? Let's talk about this for a second. Like,
do they want you to buy Dial soap on the lawn? Like, hey, I got my Dial soap. Hey, look, I've got my Old Spice. Don't worry, we got you covered.
Wait,
sign up for Progressive.
Did ESPN
or Geico?
Did ESPN or Turner Network go to the people at MLS&E and tell them not to have 5,000 people in Jurassic Park watching the Raptors get destroyed last night by the Cavs? How stupid this is.
This is really the dumbest thing. And this happened in Pittsburgh. And this remember this? Remember this? We were part of it and did a whole big thing. So I'm going to do something on the internet this afternoon about this.
I remember being there and having this.
And they actually overturned it and they had it.
They did.
Because this is so stupid. So if you're out there, just hashtag, we need a good hashtag for this, okay? Because this is like one of these things that we really have to. And I'm going to start it too. We need to come up with a hashtag because here's the thing. Here's the thing about these. Okay.
Watch it on your phone. Just sit there and watch it on your phone.
Let the party happen or something like that. We need something because this is the deal with
fight for your right to party.
Yeah, we'll come up with something by the end of the show. But the idea here is this. I've been to these parties. Okay, the ones in Pittsburgh were awesome. You remember them, Russ? You walked through them. We walked through them.
I did. I remember.
Outside to them, there were people in penguin costumes, all kinds of crazy.
It was awesome. I was talking to people. They were happy.
Tons of kids. And
it was a great thing for kids, and that's a good thing. Yeah. That's a really good point because that's a memorable event for kids where even though they couldn't get tickets, they felt like they were a part of it.
Yeah, it just seems like NBC's like, this is a blind spot for them, and they've put this on the blacklist, and I'm just trying to think of funny other, NBC shows I could go with here.
They remember, I was a kid at the second Philadelphia Flyers Stanley Cup parade in 1976. Okay, 75, right? 75. All right, I was 7 years old, and I remember that in such a monumental way that it led me to maybe where I am now. Like it was so impactful that I love the sport of hockey that I became part of hockey because I went through these things. And those kids I would see the kids out there, and it's one thing to sit and watch in your living room a game. It's another thing to go and be around 10,000 people outside, who are all cheering for your team. and that really makes an impression, and that has to be more valuable as far as NBC goes.
You know, one thing I did think of, how he said ESPN didn't care that Toronto was having 10,000 people there. Well, that's because those ratings don't count.
Right. What I'm surprised at is that
because it's the Toronto market.
With the biggest scoreboard in professional sports at the Amalie Arena, that they're not holding it inside the arena rather than outside in a situation like Jurassic Park.
Maybe we can do how about if we just play Dave Michigan's call? Everybody can it can be like an audio viewing party.
Yeah, but that's not fun. How about this? Let the advertisers have people set up there, and when it's their turn, hold up a cue card.
Hey, bring the gecko.
Right.
Yeah, there has to be.
Nicholas Backstrom can shoot a gecko sign or something.
Right. I mean, there's all these vendors, and how they know this is they usually show it on TV.
Right.
There's a really cool picture.
And some
of it,
homeless guy carrying a silver cup can say he's Lord Stanley.
Yeah.
I'll show you the picture of what it looks like. It's amazing, and this is just an incredible scene. And why the hell they would think this is a good idea? Like that, you wouldn't want to create more excitement about hockey that will lead to more viewers. Then would matter about the few hundred or so that might be connected to the ratings that would possibly it's just
10,000 homes. 10,000 homes aren't going to make a difference.
No.
Here's the funny thing.
And it's not 10,000 homes. It's like families of 4 people. So you're looking at like 2,500 homes.
Yes. But here's the funny thing. A lot of times those people are going because it's an event.
Mm-hmm.
If you let them go, I used to be in the hotel business. The biggest thing they'd say is the minute you let somebody walk out of their hotel, what are they doing? They're going to another hotel. You let somebody walk out of that from Tampa who's thinking about doing that, they may not watch the game at all. They might have just been doing it because it was fun. Now you took away some people that.
There is no question. Or there's people just in the area that see it. They go and they watch a hockey game because they want to be part of a party or whatever, and they become hockey fans. There's all kinds of reasons you do this, and there's no reason at all that you don't do it. And there's no sense in those 2,000 of which 2,000 people or 2,500 or 3,000 people or whatever that would matter in this situation on the ratings. When I think one out of every 10 people or whatever in the area is, you're talking about 200 people watching it. Different. You're talking about this crazy number that just over the fact that you're going to just generate fans for life from kids and new fans in a market that needs it desperately. This is a market that needs this kind of. The fact that you can get 10,000 people to watch a game outside in Tampa should be celebrated with enormous. I mean, they should be going to it all the time on NBC. They should be look at this group, look at this 10,000 people.
This is where the league needs to step in.
They do.
Go ahead with the breaking news.
We have breaking news. Ben Bishop is not playing in Game 7, so he must really be badly hurt.
And neither is Steven Stamkos. It was
that's surprising. I didn't see the Stamkos one, but I thought maybe Stamkos. I would have obviously if Bishop were 70%, I think they'd have him in, but he's not. Obviously,
you can't go to Bishop for Game 7.
Tough.
Did you guys think they were going to go to get Bishop if he was healthy? I didn't think they were going to Bishop either. Anyway.
I
thought they would if he was healthy. Yes.
No.
No. Is he dressing? He's not dressing, right?
Gudbranson is the backup.
Yeah, that just shows you he's not ready.
Yeah. I mean, the Stamkos thing is just it sucks for Stamkos. I mean, it really does. I hopefully, I mean, I desperately want Pittsburgh to win this game to save me money and time and aggravation. But I really want Stamkos to get another shot to play in Tampa. So hopefully. I don't know for Stamkos' sake.
You want him to get his last. You want him to get his last shot to play in Tampa.
What are going to be the odds for Tampa trying to win a second? Now they won last year, but what are the odds winning a second Game 7 on the road in the Eastern Conference Finals? I don't have any stat on that, but it's got to be astronomical.
I think I saw the stat that they're 5-1 in Game 7s. And the only one that they've lost was the Game 7 in Boston in 2011.
And they are 5-1 in Game 7s. I heard that yesterday.
2-7 at home in Game 7.
Yeah, but this is the Eastern Conference Finals. Those other ones are not all Eastern Conference Finals.
No, right, but they did. But I mean, they're 1-1 in Eastern Conference Finals. They lost the one in 2011, and they won the one last year. So.
I wonder when the last team, if anybody, has ever won 2 in a row on the road.
It's a really good question. I mean, I think that when you look at it though, it really does feel as if that this is like a dead heat. This game, I don't know why. It just feels as if this is a dead heat. It feels as if Tampa's going to have more in the tank than you'd expect. That Pittsburgh's going to be more nervous than you'd expect. Matt Murray's under a different kind of level of pressure here than he's been under before. He's never been in this situation before, and this is, we know he's cold as ice, but let's see what happens here. And Tampa has the experience in this situation. Crosby is on fire right now. It's hard to bet against him, but there's so many great dynamics in this game. I really can't call it. Like, I do not have a feel for this game.
It's a hard call to predict. It's a hard game to predict.
Yeah.
They're very even. I mean, the injury situation, the rookie goaltender situation. I think that in most of these games, either one team has really had it, or the other team. But I think I have a feeling tonight it's going to be a very close game. It could even go to overtime.
So. I don't know. I get the feeling Pittsburgh has sort of refound themselves with the way that they won the last one. I also am a little worried. Like, Tyler Johnson's becoming a non-factor again because of injuries. Like, he's another one that's just and this is why I didn't want to extend him. He gets banged up every year. He's a really good player, but there's a limit to how much you can pay this guy because he's going to play, but his production goes down. And it really, maybe he'll do something in this game, but he's been a non-factor the last couple, like, to what you expect from Tyler Johnson.
But the guy that stepped up has been Nemestikov. I thought
Nemestikov's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has been very, very good. No, I
worry about Tampa's defense a little bit in this. I worry that maybe Pittsburgh gets one goal that Vasilevsky would like to have back, because they're putting so many shots on him. That's the other thing is, one thing Pittsburgh has in favor, and I'm not the biggest guy as far as, shots on goal. I don't care about shots on goal, but you know what? Pittsburgh gets a lot of good shots on goal, and if they could pepper them with a lot of good shots like they have been, it is going to look pretty good for them, I think.
Well, the thing that I think is a key factor is, and I'll say it kindly, the emotional stability of Vasilevsky, because if he gets down a couple goals, as we've seen in a couple games in this series, he starts to lose his cool, and I don't think that's constructive when it comes to a Game 7 situation. You really have to keep your intensity and everything on an even keel, and if it's a close game, then then I think that goes by the wayside. But if if they get down a couple goals, they don't have the option to go to Bishop. Then it's Christos Gudlestis, and I don't think that's an option.
Oh, hold on, I got a breaking text here from somebody. The NHL response on the Tampa Bay watch party. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL has a policy on watch parties that teams are allowed.
They do.
They do. The teams are allowed one per round per team.
Oh
wow!
Oh, come on.
This is the NHL caring more about their rights holders than their actual fans. That's what it boils down to. They care more about NBC Comcast than they do about the fans in Tampa Bay.
Oh my gosh!
I get that it's contracted. I respect that it's contracted, but sometimes you can make an exception.
This is the fact that it's contracted. I mean, you want to so desperately, and you've worked in TV a long time. You want to so desperately think that the people at the top are smarter than this, that they have bigger pictures in their heads than this, that they realize that
once again, proactive, reactive, reactive. I say it once a month. This is a reactive league.
Dan, this is them guarding against the slippery slope. This is like the NFL in the 80s and 90s when they would go around to Buffalo bars when games were blacked out, busting them for showing the game illegally. This is how short-sighted and stupid some professional sports are. They don't realize.
Let me ask Dan that question. What is the difference if they go to a bar with like an outdoor situation and there's 5,000 people there as opposed to this viewing party?
They can't shut that down because it's not to be an unofficial, not sponsored by the team. They could do that.
Right.
But it was smart if a bar, one of the bars, or I know Cigar City Breweries in Tampa, if they said, "Hey, let's all come over here and watch the game."
Well, it actually is what's happening because the bars around the area are saying that we're open for business tonight. We're going to have big parties. We're going to be giving giveaways. They are stepping up.
Difference.
So this is the people in Tampa.
All right, here's what I would do if I was running this. If I was running NBC right now, here's what I would do. I would let them have their party because I'm not insecure about my ratings. That's the first thing I would do, and I would also do the math and realize that's maybe 300 or 500 homes, and that's not going to affect the actual. That's not going to affect the actual ratings. I would have anchors down there. I'd do intermission from there with the. I would embrace it.
This is a guy with Emmys, folks. Television Emmys.
Let me ask a dumb question.
I have lost 32 times, though. I'm 4 for 32.
You've got 3 more Emmys than probably anybody watching this show, so come on now.
Here, let me ask a dumb question. Do you
Okay.
think there's a price that if Tampa said, hey, we want to do this for our fans, and Jeff Vinnick says, let me reach into my pocket, NBC, give me a price?
No. I don't
Yeah,
think
no, they wouldn't do that. No.
I'll tell you what happened last time I did when I went on a campaign, because I found out, because the Pittsburgh thing, we found out like 3 days ahead of time. So I went on a crazy campaign to try to get the Pittsburgh party going, and I'm like, because I had been there and I'd seen it, and I'm like, this is nuts that they're not going to let us have it. So I knew the Penguins wanted it. I knew the Penguins wanted to have the party. They knew they wanted it. They wanted to do it very badly. I knew it wasn't their decision. So I started going crazy and I got the Penguins I got letters and emails from people at the Penguins who I really like, who said to me, "Listen, we love what you're doing, but you got to stop. You got to stop. This is bad. We're getting a lot of heat." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're getting a lot of heat?" There was so much pressure. The NHL just, was coming down so hard on they could not pretend to want it. Okay, but I swear to you that's what happened. They listen, we really want this, but we cannot. We're getting in trouble for all these rallies, and it's not our fault. But we're not saying anything at all. But I said, well, this is insane. I said, what kind of country do we live in that this can happen?
I mean, and there's a very limited window here because the Leafs have only made the playoffs once in the last 12, 13 years. But when they played Boston in the first round, there was a presence outside the arena for every home game.
Would the league ever shut down Rangers Town?
No.
Seriously, they would never do that.
Remember Vancouver? The one turned into a horrible incident, but it wasn't that because of that. But I mean, every game of that series they had a party downtown. Every game, that's the most recent one I can think of. But I know maybe, and since the rule may have been changed since then, but the fact that they say one watch party, one per round per team, is just.
So what if they call it a flash mob instead? All right.
It stinks. I wish it was closer. I wish it was somewhere around here where we can go and sanction the Hockey Buzz viewing party.
Yeah.
I know. I would totally do that. I would completely. I would have complete. I have a projector. I've got a giant screen. We can throw it out there.
Yeah. I have beer in my fridge.
I'm telling you, let's do it. Let's all go down to Tampa.
And I can scream at the top of my lungs like Dave Mishkin.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is really, 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 really.
Crickets hit the crickets button.
It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. I can't even. And it is right along the lines of the craziness that's included in the fact that the blackout rules that go on. All this stuff is just so short-sighted, and we have learned nothing from the internet. Like, it's like that we've learned nothing about the way things are spread, the way word of mouth works, the way people watch things. We've learned nothing. NBC and the NHL. I mean, this is insane. Really, it's brutal.
Oh, one more thing to complain about since we're complaining about the league. Please. You know what really drives me nuts is I have Game Center, and let's say I have Game Center, I have it on my phone, and let's say I'm working in New Jersey, and this isn't a problem now, but because the NHL Network's there. But let's say I'm working in New Jersey and I want to watch the game on my phone. I can't because MSG is available. So even though I'm sitting somewhere at a cubicle where I don't have MSG, I can't watch the game on my phone even though I'm an hour and a half away from my TV.
Right.
Yeah, no, that is insane. And we talked about this blackout rule. So much so, and there's ways around it.
But unfortunately, James Dolan always yells very loud, and he's one of the exceptions.
Well, I mean, I know that during the year using Game Center, I was out and wanted to watch a Leaf game, and the place it was on NHL Network.
Right.
So it was blacked out. The thing was, though, that the place I was at had DirecTV, and they didn't have NHL Network as part of their package, so I couldn't watch the game.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, how do they justify this? I mean, this is a fan base, guys, that came back after an entire year canceled. Okay, this is a fan base that came back after half of a year canceled after that for really nothing but your own personal, selfish, greedy reasons. So we sat back and we watched, even though we pay the bills, you not play. So I mean, at the end of the day, for you to sit back and say that they can't have a party on a Game 7 of a conference finals. In a city that is a new market in the state of Florida where you're desperate to keep teams is just, to me, this is so unbelievably short-sighted. I am going to get on the phone and do what I can. I'm going to talk to people. I'm not going to be able to change anything, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And I think that people should get on Twitter and start and just start hounding. We need like the president of NBC's
hashtag Tampa travesty.
Yeah, Tampa travesty. I like that.
Yeah.
Tampa
well,
travesties.
maybe not. They've had hurricane issues there. Maybe we should.
Well,
Let's
no, you know.
How about hashtag let them party or something like that? We got to do some research here and find the president of sports in Tampa on Twitter and Gary Bettman's on Twitter. I mean, we need to hound people. We need to get in this because this to me is completely that they're not thinking this is absurd. I'll put something out in my blog. We'll figure out something, but I'll put something out after this that gets this going. This is just, I mean, it's probably not going to change anything. But actually, remember in Pittsburgh, it wasn't just me, but there were a lot of people out there hounding it. I'm not saying that I saved the party by any sense of meaning, but a lot of people got on it. We need a lot of people to get on it.
I don't know if it's going to matter this time. I hate to say
No, it probably won't. But you know what? Maybe it makes them realize how stupid this rule is. I mean, maybe next time around they have a harder time saying this or something like that. We need to make sure that this can't happen again. And if you need to be heard. We got to find the right people. So
yes, let them watch.
Let them watch. I like that.
Let them drink.
Tampa travesty.
All right, we'll come up with something. We'll tweet it out. All right, guys, I got to run and we got to get out of here today. But we'll be back again for tomorrow, because that's what happens after today. And tomorrow we'll know who's going to the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll know where I'm flying to on Monday, which I can't wait to figure out. We will have Russ the Chicken here tomorrow to predict the Stanley Cup Finals.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
Yep, I know.
He likes you, man. That's the
I
funny
know.
thing.
I love it. Russ is my boy.
When are you back? Monday?
No, next probably Wednesday.
Yeah, there you go. So, Russ the Chicken will be here, and
I'm so happy
can't keep him away, unfortunately.
Well,
I'll be watching. I'm actually gonna have a viewing party. I hope the league doesn't shut me down.
Yeah. Only one per round.
Yes.
You shouldn't have announced it, Dan.
I know.
Now you're screwed. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey, and without fans, it's nothing. So that's the story for today. Have a good day and get it together, people.